Hi there, it's Robin Morton here from 22nd Century Gold and Team 113, and it gives me enormous delight today to start your week with an interview, with a relaxed chat with a gold business colleague of mine, Julian Gearing, who I am genuinely massively in awe of for the exploits and adventures he's had in his life so far. I consider myself a bit of an action man, and I've done lots of crazy exploits over my life, but they all pale into insignificance compared to what this guy has done. Just to name a couple of things that he's done, he's trekked across the Himalayas for an entire year. He's not only crossed the Sahara on his own, but he's done it on a bicycle. Now, I'm a very keen cyclist, so I'm just dying to hear a bit more about that. He's gone on from there to become an award-winning war correspondent and journalist. He's risked his life to bring pictures to people. I mean, we're sitting here in the comfort of our home offices. This guy has been out there, dodging bullets to bring information to people like us. So I am so delighted to welcome Julian. He is smashing out of the park in his gold business. He's working in a completely different part of the world from where he was born. The things that he's done, just can't wait to find out a bit more about it. So yeah, welcome Julian, welcome to the call.
Well, thanks very much for that wonderful introduction, Robin. I feel a little bit embarrassed.
Oh yes, you're living where? Tell us where you're living now, Julian, and give me just a brief rundown how you got there and all the different things that you've done in your young life.
Okay, well, that would be a rather long list, but I mean, essentially, I'm living now in northern Thailand with my wife. We're happily settled here, and I've actually been in Thailand something like 25 years. And I've had a rather mixed journey to get here in terms of getting into adventure, doing, as you mentioned, some of these crazy things like a year in the Himalayas, cycling across the Sahara, becoming a war reporter off my own back, basically learning the steps as I went along, and eventually then getting more settled into journalism and eventually winning an award. And so, it's been a great journey so far. And actually, what I'm finding, though, is that the journey I'm on right now is just as exciting because both yourself and myself are involved in this exciting project with Karatbars. We're in a situation where we can really improve our own financial circumstances. And hopefully we'll be able to have a little bit of a chat about that as we go along, because although I've been successful in journalism, on a financial level, I've not always done the right things, in terms of, strengthening my own, financial base. And so this journey that I'm on at the moment has actually been very, very rewarding for me in helping me get on the right track in terms of asset building. And so very happy to be on this particular journey.
I'm also a fellow writer. I'm not an award-winning journalist, but I write thrillers, and I can totally identify with the financial side of writing. It's not necessarily the quickest way to building massive wealth, is it? So we're embarked on this amazing journey with gold and gold-based digital assets. How would you say that your adventures and the challenges that you have already overcome have helped you in this entrepreneurial journey that we've got now?
Well, funnily enough, in some ways it doesn't necessarily help, because you come at it in a way from a way of like you're passionate about your career in journalism, for example. You're passionate about going on these adventures, or you're passionate about chasing up stories, as a reporter or as an editor. I've been a managing editor as well. And that doesn't necessarily prepare you in terms of getting, things right in terms of, strengthening your own personal finances. And so also, I think we're both aware of this because we do operate online, is that it hasn't necessarily helped me in terms of learning the marketing, learning how to market online. And so what has been helpful is just having the drive and ambition to make it work. So I think I've got this sort of thing inside me which just doesn't let me go, that, I'll keep plugging away at it. And it does help in terms of being like approaching things carefully in terms of like my investigative journalism that I've done, that type of thing. But, in many ways, anybody could do what I'm doing with regard to Karatbars. You don't have to be a war reporter, or you don't have to be an award-winning journalist to make this work. In fact, you can come at it a completely different angle and just follow the simple steps and get going with it. And I think that's the message that I've got from being involved with this and being involved with the community that we're in, is that actually it's pretty simple, and you actually want to hold yourself back. Sometimes you might know a lot about your business, you might know a lot about the financial situation, all that sort of thing. But in a way, the whole process we go through encourages us to keep it simple and to just point people at the marketing options that we have, and follow that simple system, and therefore bring in prospects through that particular path. Yeah,
I agree absolutely. And I think you've risked your life to do some of the things you've done. You've literally been dodging bullets. You've gone through privations to cross mountains. This is I think I've heard you say this is still very, very exciting business to be in. We're not luckily having to dodge bullets, but it is cutting edge business. We have married up the blockchain technology, which is still very, very new to people, to the safety and security of good old fashioned gold. Why would you say that Karatbars, for example, is a good thing to be involved in right now? You could have chosen to do a multitude of different projects, and you got involved in Karatbars. Why now? Why gold? Why Karatbars? Coming into 2020.
Well, yeah, that's a very good question, Robin. And I think, essentially, I think there are a number of factors. One, obviously, is gold. It's sometimes rather overlooked, but it has value. We all realize it's got value. And that's the ground zero, should we say, in terms of this business. And that's what it's built on. So we have that aspect. Secondly, we have cryptocurrencies. I won't go into detail on that, but the options that we have there, which is very exciting on that. And thirdly, we've got the business side of things. And so we can actually run it as a business. And all we're having to do with that is just introduce people to this opportunity, which is very exciting. We have that. Behind that, we've also got the important fact that we're looking at a world financial system that is shuddering at the moment. Okay, it's in a bad state. You may not always necessarily get that message if you watch the mainstream media reports, and you hear about America's economy is doing very well and all this sort of thing. But in essence, that's sort of propaganda by the authorities trying to keep the system up and running. I was listening to a call today from a well-known financial expert that's actually saying that this financial crash could be much closer than we've actually imagining. And so it's very important that we position ourselves, ordinary people, we position ourselves in gold. Cryptocurrencies help as well. It also helps to have an income coming in from the Karatbars system, and so it's perfect timing. And what is exciting for me is I've been involved in this for something like 18 months now, and I realized about 4 years ago I sort of had an epiphany, and I just sort of realized that it's not just about income. Okay, what you should be looking for is to build assets. And 4 years ago, I wasn't aware of Karatbars at that time. They had actually got started, but I wasn't aware of them. And I was looking for something, and I actually put that sort of desire to invest in something on the shelf, because I thought, I'm not sure if there's anything around that's really good. And so I put it off. And luckily, I was introduced to this, last year. I saw the light, should we say, and realized, oh my gosh, this is something to get involved in. And also behind this as well is there's this sense within our group, for example, online, we've got this great education to basically help people understand the importance of asset building. So we're not only involved in the Karatbars system, but we also realize that, we need to take control of our own financial situation, and to use the knowledge that we're getting from the great team members that we've got. So I think that's very, very important.
Yes, I think the timing is very good at the moment. I mean, there's a famous phrase: the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant one is today. And I think, I looked at this Karatbars thing 3-4 years ago, perhaps as well. I was looking for something to, I never seemed to have any money at the end of the month, and I wanted to save in a way that I wouldn't want to touch it again. And Karatbars, eventually I decided that was the thing to do. But I wish I had got involved earlier. I'm sure most of us feel the same way. I would strongly urge anybody who's thinking about it just to get started. The beauty of this, as Julian knows, is you can start from a tiny amount of money. Most rich people build assets, and the rest of us chase income. And most of us think that assets are something out with our reach. We can't afford to have gold in a vault, for example. How would that even work? We can't afford to buy properties that we're not going to live in, because they're huge chunks of money, and we don't have access to that sort of thing. But that's all changed now with Karatbars and the online world. You can save gold for as little as €5, $5 at a time. You can be positioned in this business and earn a commission from a tiny amount of money. In fact, you don't even need to spend money to earn money in this system when you first get started. So yeah, it was a light bulb moment for myself as well. It's not as difficult as crossing a mountain. It's not as difficult as cycling across the desert. It's very, very exciting. There are challenges with being an entrepreneur. I think it's good to have a level head. It's good to be able to fix your eye on the prize and see what see the reason why you're doing what you're doing. Fads come and go. Wars come and go. Nations come and go. The world is a very, very quickly changing place at the moment, but there's one thing that doesn't change, and that is the value of gold. When I found out that a kilo of gold could have bought in this country, it was in the UK, it was a Ford Cortina in the 1970s, which was every boy who'd dreamed was to own a Ford Cortina. You could buy one with a kilo of gold. That was something like £500 when I was a little boy. It cost you £30,000 to buy one now, more than that, and that is still the value of a kilo of gold. If we had stuck our 500 quid in the bank or under the bed when we were in primary school, we certainly wouldn't be able to buy a car with it today. We would be lucky if we could buy a tire, one single tire for the car. So yeah, the best time is always now. You can't go back in time. It's a great system we have here. As Julian was alluding to, you don't have to be a boy's own hero like Julian to make a success in this business. We have a very good system. If you go and see a film, go and see a movie, what's the first thing you do when you come out of the movie is you recommend it to other people. Hey, I saw the latest Star Wars movie at the weekend. I loved it. I think you should watch this. Well, that's exactly what we do. We just say to people, I've got this amazing little video here. We have a whole selection of them, short ones, long ones, which will resonate with different kinds of people. I love this. This is very exciting. I can't sleep thinking about it. I think you should watch it. And that's all we do. It's very, very simple. And then we have people who've been in the business for longer. We have a massive amount of education and encouragement and support amongst our team. So there's always somebody that you can rely on for giving a third-party accreditation to the venture. And so it takes all the pressure off us as affiliates. It takes all the pressure off your new interested prospects who think, I can't do what Julian does. I can't write a book. I can't climb a mountain like that. Anybody can do this business. Anybody. Seriously, from 18 years to 80 years, anybody can do this business. Just to finish off with, Julian, if you have achieved a lot in your life already, but what if you could go back in time? Okay, the thing that we would all love to be able to do, most of us. If you could go back to your, and talk to your 21-year-old self, what life advice would you give yourself?
Well, I think that's a very important question, and actually it's something that I've been thinking about, because I see quite a few young people who are 21 or 25 or 30 or something like that, and they're starting out. And if I was to go back to that time, to the age of 21, I would say to myself, start building assets at that stage. Even if you've only got, £100 to spare per month, or 300 or 500, something like that, to start on the ladder. Because, a lot of people on this call will probably recognize that, there's the potential for compounding interest. There's a potential that if you start investing and through the years, your investment will grow and grow and grow. And I think what's exciting, though, is about Karatbars today is that back when I was 21, what I would likely have done is to just put the money in the bank. Now, the interest rates were a little bit better back then, and I would probably see a better return in terms of my investment over a period of time. So over, say, 20, 30 years, it would look better than what would happen if you put money in the bank today. However, if you were to do that with Karatbars, basically take that same approach with Karatbars and what Karatbars offers, then you are likely, there are no promises here, and obviously there's risk involved, but there are no promises, but you're likely to see a better return much quicker in terms of what we're looking at with this project. I think that's something that we're understanding with this, is the potential of growth of this going forward. Yeah?
Yeah, I think there's absolutely no danger of that. I think the way the macroeconomic situation is, the global economy, the way things are looking at the moment, I think interest rates to the level that we might have remembered in our childhood are very, very unlikely to ever return again. And I think even if you were to take into that account, even in the 70s and 80s, when I can remember having a 15% mortgage interest rate, which was crippling at that time. Even during that time, money is never going to grow the way that an asset like gold is going to grow. I think when I was at primary school in the 1970s, if I put £100,000 in a steel box and buried it in the garden, it would be worth something like £16,000 purchasing power now. If I put £100,000 worth of gold into that same steel box, it would have something like £4 million worth of purchasing power. So, we're not that old. So that's a huge, we're not that old. There's a huge difference. And I think, that's only going to get worse as the economic shenanigans come into play. We already are seeing that we can't really rely anymore on banks, bosses and governments to look after us. Back in the 70s, if we had, taken up senior positions in a company, we'd be looking for fixed pension, go up with inflation, guaranteed value pension schemes, all that kind of thing that just does not happen now. We're all being made to work till we're older. The average life expectancy is not growing that fast, and we're having to work longer, so we're having less and less time to enjoy that retirement, and less money to actually afford to do anything. Whereas with gold, which is now easily obtainable through our online system, that's fairly safe, it's fairly secure. As we say, there's no guarantees. Do your homework. Google the value of gold over the last 20 years and see for yourself that it's outperformed bonds, it's outperformed the S&P 500. You can see that for yourself. And on top of that, we now have the digital gold aspect to our business, blockchain technology, which is giving us right now the opportunity to massively accelerate that wealth in gold. So it's a unique partnership at the moment. That's why we're so fired up about it. That's why there's people who are happy to cycle across the Sahara, people who are happy to cross war zones to give you information, to share a video with you. That's why people like Julian are now asking you to look at different kinds of videos, which will make your future safe and secure, and those of your family. So yeah, Julian, is there anything you'd like to finish off with before we wrap up?
I just really to follow on from what you're saying. I mean, basically, I think it's best for people to just get started, just take the first step. So in other words, you could sign up for an affiliate account and then walk through what's on offer, and therefore you're getting started and learning as you go along. The real danger is just not jumping in at this point, because you'll kick yourself in a year's time or 5 years' time, whatever, if that you didn't get involved. And there actually are people that have been kicking themselves because they didn't get involved earlier. So it's best to jump in, get started, and and get working with it. And people like Robin are here to help you in your journey. And so we've got a great support group. There's a lot of resources to help, and you can sort of just gradually build as you go along. But get started. That's my message.
You don't have to buy anything every month. It's not like network marketing where you end up with a garage full of stuff that you don't want. You're only investing in gold and gold-based assets, which you can always redeem back into devaluing paper rectangles, as I like to call money these days. So there's no risk from that point of view. Nobody can foresee the future, but we certainly are looking for towards a very exciting 2020. And if somebody wanted to get involved with this venture, Julian, what's the best way of going about it? Well, how could they get in touch with you? Or
get in touch. Feel free to ask questions, and we can point you on the journey, basically. And we've got a lot of resources, and sometimes you'll want to have some questions answered, and we can point you to our people, the directors and so forth, who can actually therefore point you in the right direction and help you with your any queries you have. But get started. Just get started.
Yep. Great advice, Julian, and thank you very much for taking time out of your day today. I know this is much later in the evening for you over there. All I would say is send some of that sunshine back over to Europe, please, because it's bitterly cold now. And thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Great to talk to you, Robin. It's been a pleasure. See you soon.
Bye now. Bye.